I think we should make the price of pipes 1.5k.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Hello, everybody. Welcome, first-time chatters. Hello, the usuals. Yeah. I never know how to fucking begin these streams, man. I'll be honest. But yeah, there was a couple things that I did want to ask you guys, or at least talk about before we actually get into things today. First of all, last stream solo stream, how was that for you guys? I know some of you, or at least I hope some of you were actually there during that stream. You missed half of it? That's all right. I think it was you quote unquote love that stream. It was a stream. Yeah, I know. I know. I felt it too. I mean, I was supposed to be sleeping for like half of it, catching up on sleep, but Jay Eisen had so many, I guess, problems, you would say, that I had to stay up the entire time. But even then, my general impression of it was that it was I have a lot of mixed feelings about that last stream. It was nice to see that she was actually following the format and not trying to break her script and anything. But her personality is, yeah, it's not a personality. She didn't crash. And she didn't need me to actually restart her outside of when she started being really schizo. If you're about to say she worked, she did not work. She worked better functionally wise. She did not work better as a streamer, I will admit that. And that's mainly just because of like, she half worked. Yeah, she half worked. That's mainly just because of like the data that I trained her on, right? She's trained more or less to be like a Discord chatbot because okay, let me give you some insight as to how I trained her, right? How I trained her for that stream and why it took 3 fucking days to train. The Me6 thing. Yeah. The moment she started talking about Me6, it was like a dead giveaway that I trained her on a lot of Discord data. How much Discord data exactly? Let's see if I can pull it up. How much Discord data exactly did I train her on? I don't actually have the data sets here, do I? Training, testing, Jamit, training Discord. Discord Kaggle, outputs, convos, JSON L. Ah, yes, here we go. 341 entries, 341 conversations. This was the dataset that I downloaded all the way back when I first made the text-to-text video. And this is basically just like a Kaggle dataset that I took originally. It looks something like this, right? Or not like this. It looks even worse than this. But I ended up cleaning it up and creating this massive ass data set with like 300,000 conversations and formatted it in kind of like the script that I have for Project JEISON at the moment, which I then used to train a model, which took a whole 3 days to go through all 300,000 rows just once. And that was the result that you saw on stream. Of course, this isn't really good for streaming because all the responses are super short, right? Let's see if we can see we're short. Yeah, output banned, 1 word, thank you. Like all of these conversations, they're Discord conversations, right? They're kind of gonna be like Twitch chat messages or whatever. They're gonna be like one-liners or like a couple of words. So they're not gonna be very long. They're gonna be kind of dry at times as well. So overall, it works for like getting a good conversation data set going, but it's not good for the type of content that I want her to generate, right? But this was like a good proof of concept for me to figure out what I was doing wrong in terms of fine tuning and stuff, and then finally get it down so I can start fine tuning a better model for JEISON for these streams. What base model did you use? I ended up using Llama. How big did I go for that one?
Anis2board is now following.
Thank you, Anis, for the follow. I ended up using Llama 8 billion, I believe. 8 billion, 3.2, I think it was 3. I don't remember which one exactly. Was I 3.1, 3.2? I can check right here. In fact, I trained it using 3.18 billion using Unsloth. So it was their bits and bytes model, and then I quantized it down to 4-bit, or yeah, 4-bit quantization. But yeah, I'm going to end up making, when I do have time, I'm going to make a new data set with far less conversations. I'm probably only going to go down to something like 10,000 conversations at most, or 10,000 samples, because I find that that amount is good enough. I'm also going to be changing up like the instruction prompt, basically just the prompt and whatever. And I'm going to kind of handcraft it. So I'm not going to be like taking random samples out of like the Discord dataset or whatever, because we already saw how that went. But I'm going to be making my own data sets, finding samples that I want to include, creating my own samples by hand, and then trying to actually make a personality or a model that's much better for at least solo streaming, right? Quality over quantity? Yep, exactly. It's always going to be quality over quantity when it comes to these data sets. You give it slop, even if you're feeding it a shit ton of slop, 300,000 lines of slop, you're gonna get slop out, right? It's better to have like much fewer but very good quality samples to pull from and to train on than to have all of these samples here, right? All 300 of these samples, where probably only like 10 or so are actually good. Why not Dolphin 2.6 Mistral? Because I'm using Unsloth to fine tune it on my own local machine, right? And to fine tune an Unsloth model, I'm just using the ones that they provide inside of their Hugging Face repositories. Llama, honestly, is good enough. A lot of these models are good enough, especially when you're fine tuning from foundational. If I were to actually fine tune directly from something like Jamit, like I had originally planned, then I might have seen a little bit better results, but... Oh, thank you, Anthony, for the 6 months.
Half a year, woo. Kinda crazy TBH.
I believe it's been half a year.
Now.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already been half a month.
Half a year,
no upload.
WOO.
For half a year.
Kinda crazy TBH. Road to 1 year begins now.
Double TTS. It's been 6 months? It has been 6 months. It's been a really fucking long time. And... oh my god. I was gonna say something, but I'll just leave that be. Someone clip that. I don't feel like it. But yeah, I'm not using Dolphin 2.6 Mistral because Unsloth doesn't really provide a model for that. And I'm not really sure if it would be compatible for training on Unsloth. I mean, most models are compatible to train on Unsloth. It's just that I wanted to originally train with using Jamit, which is like a fine-tuned version of Llama, but it was missing some configuration files that was needed by Unsloth to start fine-tuning. So I was like, fuck it, I don't want to really deal with trying to find a model that has the right configuration. So I was just using Unsloth models directly. And they're like good enough. Like I was saying, if you start fine-tuning directly from a foundational model, and you have a good enough data set, then it really doesn't matter which model you start from. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm trying to fine tune it to follow my specific script format. And honestly, I was giving it a little bit of thought while off stream, after that stream. And I kind of want to change how I'm doing prompting for JEI Sin, at least for this fine tuning model. Right? Because after you fine-tune a model, it's going to ingrain a lot of information into it, right? Not like literal facts and information, but information in terms of how inputs are structured and stuff like that. So I don't really need to have a instruction prompt anymore that's telling it, oh, you're going to be given a script, it's going to be formatted like this, blah, 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 blah. We don't really need something like that, right? That can just already be ingrained. And so I kind of want to change it so that we reduce the amount of tokens while increasing like the context window and stuff like that. Just some stuff like that. But I was also thinking, I'm not sure how many of you actually use Project JEISIN, or if you're just using Project JEISIN as a reference for your own projects. But one thing that I wanted to do, and I know this is gonna sound crazy because we just had like 4 or 5 months of this already, but I want to refactor JEISIN. Okay, just bear with me for a second. I want to refactor JEISIN, but not to the same degree that we're doing or we did for the first 5 months since January, right? I was thinking about it and I was like, you need to add extension, you need to add in plugins. No, fuck off, Aku. We're not doing that again. the reason why I was thinking this, right, is because there's a lot of complexity when it comes to handling many integrations, the many integrations we have right now, right? For Project JAISN, for something like text-to-speech, for example, we have, where is it? For something like text-to-speech, for example, we have Azure, we have Fish, we have Cobalt, we have MeloTTS, we have OpenAI, we have PyTTS. We have a crap ton of freaking different TTS options. And if you look at something like the configuration, it starts to get really fucking confusing what to do. And I'm finding that a lot of people, when they are using Project JAISN, there is a lot of confusion in terms of how to make use of, or how to configure things, or what certain options are for. And so, sure, Project JAISN is like pretty well-rounded in terms of compatibility and integrations, where you could run this on like a very shitty machine, granted you're using some third-party service, or you have the option to run everything entirely locally, right? If you have like a full-on dedicated GPU with 12 gigabytes of memory or whatever. But I'm finding that for my development, at least, for my progression of the VTuber that I'm making, and in terms of the simplicity of this project, I feel like it would benefit a lot more if I took out a lot of these integrations and dumbed everything down to be something that can be ran entirely locally while not providing a lot of different solutions, but solutions that are highly compatible, right? I guess my eyes have kind of been opened ever since I started using something like LM Studio. Let me just pull it up. Right? Because, I don't know, prior to Project JAISN and all of this, I was not a AI kind of guy, where I was super familiar with all the tooling or all the applications that were out there. But for something like LM Studio, I only used this for maybe 2 weeks, the 2 weeks that I was trying to make the model, the new model for JAISN, and I fucking love this thing. I fucking love that you can have your models directory, you can load them up, create an API, and then have a built-in chat here already, and all with like a really nice UI and everything, right? But I really like how well integrated everything is here, but it's so like specific in that it's not trying to integrate with third-party services like OpenAI or I don't know, Claude or whatever, but instead it's just a single application that is meant to be a wrapper around Llama CPP and run GGUF text models, right? I want kind of like the similar thing for Project JAISN, where now is going to just be a wrapper around locally runnable applications and running the models locally through like GGUF or whatever models. And I was looking into it a little bit more, and we actually have stuff like Whisper CPP. We have stuff like Whisper CPP. We also have Llama CPP, which can be ran as a server internally. And this is what most things are running, right? LM Studio, Cobalt, all of them are running Llama CPP in the back. And I guess for TTS, I could just like hard-code it or hard-code it to support MeloTTS. And then RVC, I guess I could also add that as well. But I was thinking of just remaking JAISN to only support these 4 kind of things on top of like the additional chunking and emotion detection and all that extra stuff. But to really simplify down the model so we have guarantees and to make things a lot easier for me to make configurations for, right? Current JAISN configuration is just a nightmare, and the configuration API is like it's basically never used because there's so many integrations, there's so many things to configure that I just don't want to go through the hassle of trying to configure things through the API. Versus if I have guarantees as to what I'm loading up in the background, then I don't really have to do all these checks like, oh, I have fish loaded up and I have these options available to me when I'm using fish, versus Azure, I only have the Azure TTSG voice configuration. If I load up something like Llama CPP, then I already have an expectation for what I can configure and what I can't, which would make making a UI a lot simpler for my case at least. God, I fucking rambled a lot there. But what I was basically trying to ask was, would this be something that you guys are interested in? Just like completely foregoing weaker machine support for a much simpler application to run. Because with Llama CPP, you can run any sort of GGUF text-to-text model. Like 90% of GGUF models, or any sort of model that can be ran using Llama CPP, which is the vast majority of them, would be supported by Project JAISN to be ran locally. Same with Whisper CPP, we don't really need another transcription model. We can just use the different versions of Whisper or the different sizes of Whisper. And then for Mellow TTS, I don't know. The text-to-speech engine would be something of contention, but I've been having okay results with Mellow TTS, and so I'm fine with supporting this as like the official engine. And then whatever engine you guys would want to add, you can just do so yourself, right? Because I feel like most people, if they don't even know the differences between the different engines, then they wouldn't be bothering with trying to implement or select one over the other. If you use OpenAI, it would be a bunch of support, and then you could use something like Ollama for local or OpenAI for larger models. No, but here's the thing. If I'm gonna go this route, I don't want to support different integrations anymore. I would want the main engine to only be this one option. So Llama CPP would be the option for everything. And so I wouldn't want to use Ollama. I wouldn't want to use things with OpenAI compatible APIs, just because that like raises complexity of things a lot more. And yeah, it raises the complexity and configuration of things a lot more, especially when I have to start managing separate processes and stuff like that I haven't created myself. The whole point of all of this is just because of configuration and setup complexity. If I go the route of supporting something like Llama CPP, I can just have a project and include the compiled binaries for all the different versions of Llama CPP. And so it would make distribution of the actual final executable a lot simpler, as opposed to having people be like, oh, go install this version of PyTorch, go install these versions of FairSec and whatever. I don't know. The only thing is just the TTS engine, trying to come up with something that is also nicely portable and in C. Because I feel like a lot of these text-to-speech options, at least the ones that I've seen, are all in Python, and they all have really whack dependencies, right? So it makes playing with RVC and the actual text-to-speech a lot harder. I forgot LM Studio uses Llama CPP. Yeah. Llama Studio or LM Studio uses Llama CPP as the engine, as you can probably see from runtime, right? CPU, Llama CPP, CUDA, Llama CPP. And even if we do go this route of having everything run locally, I don't even think it would be that slow. Because running a CPU Llama CPP, you can run this shit on a phone, I'm pretty sure. And it would be like 7 tokens per second, which is slow, but it's runnable, right? And I guess we shouldn't really expect that much when it comes to running things on a really bare bones or a really shitty device. But with something like running it locally using CUDA or Vulkan or some sort of, or even on an AMD card with ROCm. I guess you would use Vulkan for that as well. But the performance there is very comparable to what you would get with something like OpenAI, but it's also a lot more reliable because you don't have to rely on whole internet connection or the uptime of their servers and stuff. You support this route? Yeah, I'm like, the only reason why I'm in contention with this route right now is just because there might be people who are like, oh, I don't want to go through the hassle of installing or fine-tuning my own models. I want to, let's say, I want to use OpenAI for everything, or I want to integrate with Claude, or I want to integrate with Gemini or something like that. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know these different AI third-party services, but I don't know. It also makes, I guess, I don't know, because all these different services as well, they have their own kind of, they all need their different adapters in order to play with their APIs or with their prompts correctly. I don't know what else to say besides going this route just reduces complexity of things a lot more for me, and I feel like I could speed up development a lot better. I haven't actually been reading what was going on in chat. Speaking of Nero, Beetle said that she doesn't have a prompt, or rather have a prompt that said, "You are Nero, act like." I still don't know how that works. This is exactly what I mean in terms of fine-tuning and the storage of knowledge through fine-tuning. Fine-tuning, normally we don't recommend this for ingraining new knowledge and stuff, mostly because new information is being come up with every day, right? If we have to fine-tune a model every single time we want it to have the latest information, then we'll be needing to fine-tune a new model every single day, which is just completely inefficient, right? The more efficient way is just to do RAG for something like that, give it the extra context, and then you would have the latest information, even on a outdated model. But we can still fine-tune in order to encode information, and specifically a personality, right? Fine-tuning is great when it comes to injecting industry-specific knowledge, terminology, and all that stuff. Why is it so good? Because it actually learns the words as well as how the identity of those words and its relationship to it. The reason why Neuro can act without a prompt sort of like that is probably because Vital created a data set where every single one of the responses that the LLM gives is from the perspective of Neuro-sama. And so Neuro will always be saying, oh, I'm Neuro, this is like my personality or whatever. Not even like saying this is my personality, but just talking as though they're Neuro-sama. And so whatever input Vital gives her, Neuro will respond as though they're Neuro, kind of like how ChatGPT will always respond knowing that they are ChatGPT. It's ingrained inside of them because that was how they were trained to respond. It's kind of like how I'm trained to respond as Limit because I am Limit, and that's what I have been trained to do. And so really, you don't even need a system prompt. The only reason why we include a system prompt is because I'll be honest, I don't really want to work on mem trees today. I kind of just want to yap, but so I guess I'll just spend this today just like talking about LLMs and whatever. But the reason why we give system prompts or user prompts, we have...
I am not sure if you are Limit, you sound Seuss XD.
I'm not sure. I do not sound sus. I think I sound pretty normal today. All right, let's open a new file. New file temp. .txt. Let's do a little lesson on LLMs, right? So, OpenAI, right, with OpenAI, I'm sure you're all used to having a system prompt, a user prompt, and then the assistant response. This is all kind of like the standard that OpenAI has created, but you need to understand that this isn't, it's not like LLMs specifically have a section where it says, oh, it's not like a function where it says, oh, you have a system prompt, and then you have a user prompt, and then this generates a response, right? This is not what the actual LLM looks like. Instead, what it does, this is not what it does. Instead, what it does is it takes the system prompt and then it also joins it with the user prompt in some sort of way to get one mega block of text. And then it starts generating iteratively to create a response. And so let's look at the LLM structure for a second. Transformer structure. This is what the originally proposed transformer looks like, right? Can I open you a new tab? Oh fuck. Can I find you? Yes. This is basically what it looks like.
Time.
Okay, Haku. This is basically what it looks like, right? You have your encoder block and a decoder block, right? Originally, it used to be that your input, your system prompt plus user prompt, the combination of the two, would get sent into the encoder, and then there would be some sort of like cross-attention mechanism going on inside of the decoder. And so the encoder only runs once to encode that input information, gives it to the decoder, and then the decoder runs in kind of like a loop, generating one token at a time before it ends up reaching a kind of stop sequence or a sequence of characters which signifies a stop. And then the engine that actually runs that LLM will see that and be like, okay, it's time to stop generating the response, right? And so really, what we do nowadays is that the encoder block no longer exists, and it's just a decoder block. If I can find an image of that. Transformer, structure, AI. Oh, fuck it. I'm just gonna... Okay, so nowadays we've gotten rid of this part. Can I fill you? Fill you black, right? So this no longer exists, and we're purely running as a decoder architecture. And how this basically works is previously we would take whatever output we have and add it onto the system plus user. So we would have system plus user plus next token, right? And then we would use this as our new input. We would loop that back around and give it into the beginning of this decoder block again.
If you want deep explanation about AI, I can send you my PDF files with presentations from my university. The small problem is that they are written in Bulgarian.
If you want those notes, then sure. But I'm pretty well versed when it comes to the structure of this, at least for transformers. But yeah, it basically recurses around, gets fed back as a new input, and then we can take the new input with a new token, boom, generate a new token, put it on the front, and it keeps adding onto it, right? That's kind of what we see with streaming. And in fact, I can take a sample from here, from my data set over here. Come on. We'll take you. Word wrap? Yes, okay. So, let's get rid of instruction. Okay. You know what? That's fine. Get rid of instruction, get rid of inputs. And then get rid of outputs. Okay, so we would have something like this, right? We would have our system prompt, our user prompt, and then our response being generated. This is all one block of text, right? The LLM does not care where these blocks are positioned. It only cares about generating the next sequence in the token. So if I gave it this system prompt and this user prompt, and then I asked it to generate something, let's pretend it hasn't generated this yet, then it would do something like, oh, generate just. Okay, that's one token. And now it uses this as the new input to the decoder block. And so the next token that we get is got. And then it will keep doing this iteratively until the entire sequence has been created and we get something like a stop sequence. Once we see this, the LLM, or no, the engine will see this stop token and be like, okay, it's time to stop generating. And then whatever it generated from the original beginning input, it would output as the final result, right? And so the final thing that you would see is just this, even though really the input to the LLM every single time was this entire block, or this entire block of text. So what we really mean by system, user, and assistant is we have these special tags that separate each one of these sections or these special sequences. So we can say something like start system and then end. Start user and then end. And then we have start response and then nothing down here, right? It would look something like this. This is all in plain text as well. It's not like these are special. It's not like these are special commands or special bytecodes or something that is hard-coded for every single LLM. This is just something that we've arbitrarily defined and specified for the engine. And so the LLM, even if we gutted all of this and started it here, it would not care. It could continue generating from this. It would just continue generating the rest of the system prompt, then make up the user prompt, and then make up the response until it reaches the end and sees the response. The only reason why it does play well and we do only end up getting a response every single time is because it's been like fine-tuned in such a way that it will always generate a sequence of text, then finish off with an end whenever it sees this start response, right? That's just how it's been trained. That's kind of like the dog whistle. It sees start response, this is how it's going to behave. If we only gave it up to here, then the dog whistle is to like, oh, I'll create the user input, then put end, and then start creating the start response, and then give the actual response before reaching the end, right? That was kind of like one of the problems that I did end up seeing when I was working on the fine tuning. It was because I wasn't actually properly specifying the correct stopping strings and all of that stuff, the stopping strings, or correctly separating out my system, user, and assistant responses. So JAISN previously, in the previous models, would have a tendency to try and continue the script, continue the conversation, even when she wasn't meant to. It's because she still thinks that she's generating the rest of the script, even though really she should have sent the stop sequence or something like that. Could you make it so you run two LLMs? Doesn't Neuro, for example, run two AIs, one for her brain and a second one that scrutinizes her outputs for bad words and censors it? I don't know if it relays it back to Neuro, since it seems that she knows it's happening. I only bring this up as a way to prevent the LLM from getting tricked into saying something bad while streaming. Yeah, the thing is, the way Neuro understands that she has been filtered or not is simply through the script, right? Simply through additional context. As she's saying it, she doesn't know that she's going to get filtered until it actually happens. And so what is basically happening, and what's also happening inside of Project JAISIN, is that she has the actual personality LLM, or the response LLM, and then it goes through a filter, right? This can be an AI filter, this can be a hard-coded list of words to filter out. But if this does get filtered, if filtered, then it would just come out as filtered. And then inside of the script, she would probably just see filtered, or maybe her actual response, but then it was filtered, right? Response, but was filtered. And then the actual filtered response. And so on her next iteration, on her next prompting to be responded, she'll see that this came up in her conversation. She'll see that she actually said this message, and she'll be like, oh, gosh darn it, god damn it, I've been filtered, or whatever the fuck. And so, yeah, you can turn off this filter. It's much better to keep these separate, again, because you do want to be able to toggle on and off this feature without having to like prompt it specifically, because prompting can still be unreliable. But yeah, the whole point of training your LLM with a specific response or a specific template is because they learn to use that template properly. So I could get rid of the system prompt, this user prompt. I can get rid of all of these tags inside of training and just keep the response prompt. And this should work entirely fine, right? I can just use this as input, start input. And then we can reach the end. This is completely valid as well, as long as I fine-tune my model to specify this way, and as long as I set up my engine such that it will stop on those sequences. Right? As long as it does stop on those sequences, I can add new ones like end or whatever the fuck like that, right? And so what I want to do for JAISIN is that I want to get rid of her instruction prompt and really just create a couple sections. So I want to create a section for context descriptions. And so this would be a list of context descriptions, right? So this would be like, oh, search web, something like that. And then this would describe what this does. So results from searching the web, something like that, right? So that she actually understands what this does. And then for something like down here, I could have start script, and then we can reach an end. And this would have like the actual script inside of here below. And then finally, last but not least, we can have start response, end. And then we can fine tune her to have her generate these responses, target generate these responses. And so I don't really care what she does for the script, for the context descriptions. All I really care about is setting up proper responses so that when I do give her the script and the context, I can just give her this block and then end it off with start response, and then she'll actually start giving a response as though she's JAISIN and whatever, and that should be completely fine. The only thing is just trying to make sure that she does stay in character and does not try to make up the or try and talk from the perspective of other people. And that can be done simply by always having the output be from the perspective of JAISIN. The reason why she was kind of all over the place in the previous stream was because, as you can see with all of these samples, they're not all the same person, right? If I can find it. Oh, if the character prompt I basically have is like, oh, hey, I'm Zale. Hey, I'm Zale. Hey, I'm Velvet. Hey, I'm Woofles. something like that, right? And so they're always a different person every single time, and the response that they give is always from a different perspective. And so if I were to fix the character here, if I were to fix this to be J.E. Eisen and have it so the responses are always in character, then we should see better responses. Another benefit that we can also get from this is that we can tie in special sequences into the response as well. So instead of having a separate model for detecting emotion and sending that out to everybody, instead I can have J.E. Eisen try and output a set of tokens or text sequences at the very beginning to specify something like, oh, I want emotion, angry. And this will help kind of guide the tone of the response that she gives out. I can additionally parse this and maybe send this off to a text-to-speech. I can additionally send this to a text-to-speech to also guide the tone of that generated speech. I can use this and send this off to...
I see she had personally crisis lol. Understandable, maybe add in system that she is Jason and in training add her name there too.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. But as I was saying, you can take this angry emotion, also send it to VTube Studio. This just adds a lot more consistency as opposed to trying to classify it after the fact. I mean, we can classify it after the fact and then still send it to TTS and VTube Studio. But I like the idea of having the LLM guide the emotion as opposed to having the response guide the emotion. Or yeah, having the emotion guide the response as opposed to having the response guide the emotion. You can also add additional stuff here, like, play a soundboard or additional tools, kind of like how we do the MCP stuff, how the MCP model does a bunch of tool calls. You can do tool calls inside of here as well, right? And so we can have her do a soundboard, and then we can have her play pipes, right? And then we can parse this out, play out the pipes, blah, blah, blah. There's also additional stuff that she can do, like, we don't want to start a response. This would be like start spoken response, right? Maybe we want to start spoken response, and this would be the spoken response. But maybe we don't want to always have spoken responses. Maybe we want her to have some sort of thoughts. And so we can do something like start hidden response. And so this would be something like stage speak, in that I can talk to her kind of offline without having her talk out loud, right? And so she would have a different kind of tone or response inside of here where she can be thinking. She isn't as content brained, and so she can actually be smart here. Say something smart, saying something smart. When her actual personality is something that of dumb. Heads one limit, all right, fine. Prediction. But yeah, on your point of, I see she had a personality crisis. She did have a personality crisis last stream. Understandable, maybe add a system that she is J.E. Eisen and in training, add her name there too. The thing is, it's all in the fine tuning. Her personality prompt does specify very concretely that she is J.E. Eisen, but because of the whole fine tuning, and how it adjusts her ability to pay attention to certain parts of text, she tends to forget that she is J.E. Eisen, or she is trying to play the role of J.E. Eisen and starts to speak from the perspective of other people. And so there is this kind of point of forgetting their identity because of the fact that we are using the same or a similar prompt every single iteration or for every single one of these scenarios. If we were to change up the system prompt a little bit or change up the character prompt quite a bit, then we would have less of that situation because it's a lot more flexible, and the LLM would be trained to pay a lot more attention to the name and to play within that character a lot better. However, I didn't really do that, so she does tend to forget the fact that she is meant to be playing this specific character. And so no matter how you prompt it, there will be that kind of aspect of forgetting, unless if you've trained it only from that perspective. Would this allow her to get annoyed or sad, or how people respond to her as well? Yes. This would also change how they respond as well, right? We already saw a kind of shift in personality in how J.E. Eisen responds in the new model that I presented last week or earlier in the week. And the reason why LLMs such as ChatGPT are always super positive, right? They're always super happy, super positive, is just because they're trained that way, right? They're always trained to give good responses because that's what people like, right? Reinforcement learning, human feedback, blah, 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 right? If they were trained like Gemini or whatever to give really harsh responses, I would say, then the LLM will innately give harsh responses. It's not like the LLM is you or I, where it understands people's emotions and it tries to respond in a way that satisfies those emotions. It's its own being. It's trying to respond in a way that it has seen most regularly in its training data, because that's what it has been statistically shifted to do. And so it's going to start responding in a more positive light if it's only ever seen positive responses. Smart move to add secret message with her in like, if your message has secret message, you will return text, not ATTS. Yes, you could also do that as well. Although how I've done it is just that I have an option inside of my API endpoint that says whether I want to generate a text-to-speech or not. But yeah, that is also something you could do. You could also append it with like no speech or whatever, right? And this would make it so, oh, she doesn't do any speech with this, but you can also say like send to Discord and just do a bunch of stuff with this LLM thing. But yeah, there's a million different ways in which you can structure this for tool calling, pre-processing, all of that kind of stuff. But it is something that we can do in order to save resources, to combine the two models and have the personality also do a lot of the tool calling as well, although it is less reliable. And if you were to have a specific model that is dedicated to tool calling and then one that is specifically dedicated to personality and stuff. But I don't know. This might be the route that I go. I might even just take out that initial, actually no. Yeah, this might be the route that I go down, simply because it is a lot simpler for me to make a data set that combines the two, as opposed to having to coordinate two models, one that guides like the personality, or yeah, one that guides the personality and one that guides all the tool calling as well as the emotions that go into the personality and stuff. Well, in this day, people need more positive responses in life, and more people will use ChatGPT even more. Yeah, that's the whole point of reinforcement learning, human feedback, and that's also one of the pitfalls in terms of that if you're trying to go for a realistic personality. Because if you think that everybody is going to be responding like super positively all the time, then I think you need to talk to more people. Because the reality is, to have engaging conversations with people, to really feel like a person is alive or actually fleshed out, there needs to be disagreement, and there needs to be like, you can't have a yes man, is what I'm saying. Yes men are boring, but they're positive, but they're boring, right? And so they don't really make good engaging personalities. Unless if you're into being glazed all the time. All roads lead to therapy. Like, the people who use AI, like ChatGPT for therapy, all they want is just like reassurance or reaffirmation. That's all they want, right? They're not looking to actually talk with somebody. But I feel like if you wanted to make a realistic personality like Neurosama, or to make an engaging, entertaining personality like Neurosama, then you need to create a more controversial AI. You need to make a more you need to make a less positive, always happy-go-lucky fucking AI. Forgot to add emojis for better and beautiful structure. Oh my god. That is the one trend I hate. Why does every single LLM... No. Why does ChatGPT's LLM, why do they always spew out fucking emojis, man? It's so annoying. And it's so like, oh my god. I don't know. It's like the most... It's the most Zoomer pilled coding trend I've seen lately. Even though I'm like basically Zoomer. But I don't like it. It is so like dumb.
1-to-1 Gamba time.
Especially when you start seeing it inside of your commit histories as well. All the fucking emojis and shit. It's like, oh, push to production, ready to ship. Oh my god, man. I can't with it. Yeah, that's kind of like the plan that I have in store in terms of the LLM at the very least. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah. I don't want to do a kind of joint stream with J.E. Eisen for the time being. At least, like, you haven't seen me talk to J.E. Eisen directly for a long time, right? And that's simply because there are already a lot of problems when it comes to speech to text at the moment. And for some reason, it's so fixated on thinking whatever I'm saying is Guatemala or whatever. It always like mistranscribes stuff, and that always plays into the horrendous responses that J.E. Eisen can sometimes give. And so I kind of want to fix that up before I actually do anything with like talking to J.E. Eisen directly again. Yeah. I don't know what else to talk about. What do you guys want to know? I guess. Because I do not want to work today. I've been so fucking lazy lately. I'm not gonna lie. Knowing my first project has Gemini for chatting on what party to vote. And I for sure didn't tell him in his prompt to tell people to choose the first one. And he had emojis that I had to remove when detected in the prompt. Yeah, emojis are kind of like the bane for actual compatibility of their LLMs with a lot of other systems. I want to say that I've been really busy this week. And I guess I kind of have, but I don't know. I've just been so fucking lazy lately that I just haven't been working that much. At least as much as I normally do. At least that's how I feel like it. We both know you were not doing shit. I mean, like, okay. I was busy, but I was also not busy, right? The very beginning of the week, when I was supposed to be streaming or sleeping on stream while J. Eisen was doing her solo stream, I had pulled 3 all-nighters in a row. Basically, I came back on Sunday, and then all the way up until Wednesday, I had 4 hours of sleep total. And that was just because I was fucking grinding away on an assignment, which I had a demo for. And then I never even like finished the fucking assignment, so I couldn't do the demo. But now I'm like, now there's 2 weeks until the next final demo, and I am so fucked. I'm so fucked. Like, next week I have to pull like 5 all-nighters or something. I don't even know if I'm going to be streaming next week. It's that bad. And that's just to catch up with the deadline that I missed. And then there's like the harder part of the second half of the assignment, which is supposed to be even worse. So I'm not looking forward to that. But even since then, I don't know. My sleep schedule has been so bad. I just wake up at like 9 p.m. or whatever. Grind out my assignment until 7 a.m. Go to sleep, wake back up for my class. I end up missing like 2 of my classes, go to my 1 class, and then go back to sleep. But no. As well, like, I don't know. I kind of like fucked up my sleep schedule as well, because I'm sure you all know the horse girl game, Uma Musume, right? I'm sure you all know. I'm sure you've all been watching fucking people playing that, because that's all people are playing nowadays. Fucking, it's ruining my sleep schedule as well. I've only been playing it for 1 week and I have like 50 hours on it. It's fucking bad. So my week has literally just been 80 hours in school working and then 50 hours on Uma Musume.
Go work on the school project. Jason can wait with the upgrades. Words that can happen is forget your code.
Go work on your school project. Jay Eisen can't wait on the upgrades. Nah, but the thing is like, this is my final term. If I fail these courses, I don't really care. Like I'm probably gonna pass these courses with a good grade or not. Probably not. I doubt it. They're already kind of screwed up. Like, these courses are way too hard anyways. I'm not gonna get a good grade regardless. And, like I have deadlines I need to meet anyways. For J.E. Eisen at least. I guess on that point, because we're almost done this whole memory module arc.
Gamble.
Just gamble. Gamble on horse girl game. Do we become horse girl streamers? I don't know. Like I was gonna say, now that we're nearing the end of this whole memory module arc, I was thinking like we're gonna be transitioning to version 3.0 soon, right? And with the transition to 3.0, that's when I want to do the refactor with the kind of things that I talked about earlier, right? With changing to using just these 4 models or integrations and having everything else just be like deprecated.
Anthony the First want your money.
But I was also gonna say the version 3.0 that we're going to be transitioning into, what that's going to be all about is actually making an executable and making a proper web application, kind of like LM Studio, or maybe it might be a web application like Cobalt or something, right? We're going to be making a proper application for Windows. I don't know if I'm going to be supporting Linux, honestly, outside of a server, but an application like LM Studio where you can boot up, manage, and configure Project J.E. Eisen. And on that point, because we're having this major leap to version 3.0, this major refactor, and the introduction of a new UI and everything, I wanted to, let's say, rebrand, right? Not like a crazy rebrand, but like change the name of this project. Right, from no longer being Project
Show them
J.E.
your AI
Eisen.
Jason project and they will see how good and complex it is that they will have to give you a good mark. Now I see you moved to Win 11 like me 2 days ago.
Move to Win 11? Okay, there's like a story with that, but let me finish this point really quick. Because of this major transition, I wanted to do a rebrand and refactor. We're refactoring the branding, guys. We are no longer going to be Project J.E. Eisen, or at least this project is no longer going to be Project J.E. Eisen. It's going to be fucked up for SEO for a little bit since we've kept Project J.E. Eisen for a long time, but it's no longer going to be Project J.E. Eisen, especially since J.E. Eisen is just so hard to pronounce, especially for an AI. But we are going to be renaming this to, God, you know what?
Wait, what was the plan for the end of V3 of currently named Project Jason?
No, that's the thing. V3 will have a new name. V3 will no longer be called Project J.E. Eisen. Take a guess. Take a guess as to what the name is while I get it ready here. Is it gonna be Project Pipe? That is the worst fucking name possible. Project Pipe. Oh god. It is, drum rolls please. Fucking hell. It is Project Vita. Fuck. It is Project Vita. That is the new name of the fucking project. A lot simpler. Grimace. Actually good. It's gonna take some adjusting to do. We've been so used to Project JEISON for so long, but Project Vita is a lot easier to pronounce, and I think it's nice. You know what Vita means? Vita means life, and I think Vita is like a lot easier to say, a lot nicer to say as well. Maybe you guys saw that leak or that kind of drip marketing that I posted a while ago inside of the announcements with the whole binary stuff, right? Yeah, with the announcement of the VOD channel, I dropped this as well, right? And this basically is like, let's take this. Let's take this and binary to ANSI, or what's it, ASCII? I don't remember. Base U here, convert. Wow, letter V is very versatile, don't you think? VTuber, Virtua, Vita. Yeah, that's what this was referring to, mainly. Project Vita. We're renaming this project to Project Vita. I think you have been going too long without coding. All of this life is affecting your capability to name AIs. Well, this isn't the AI's name. This is just a project name. We're just renamed to Project Vita. Project Vista. Oh my god. There was a fucking... We went through a lot of names. I really wanted to keep the letter V for reasons maybe you guys will see in the future. But I really wanted to keep the letter V here. And so finding a word that works with the letter V for a project name is just, it was just too hard. Especially when Project Viola already exists. Like, oh my god. I didn't want to come up with a name too similar with Project Viola. Because that's already another VTuber. V for Vision. No, and Project Vision wouldn't also be a good name, and yeah. V for Vision, maybe. V is very versatile. There's a lot of things you can do with the letter V. VTuber, Virtua, Vision. I can't think of any other words that start with V. Isn't Viola closed project? Viola is closed project, but I don't want to like come up with a project name that's already close to another, I guess, VTuber's name. Especially when they are related in terms of the AI VTuber space. Also, the fucking project that I'm working on, Vilima? No, that sounds terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted it to be like a really short name. But yeah, the project that I'm working on for school, bro, even if I showed them Project JEISON, nah. Not even on the same scale. That fucking project that I'm working on is so much bigger than whatever I've been working on for Project JEISON, right? What I've been working on for Project JEISON is like, it was like a warm-up for that course. That course is JEISON, but on the level of working on an embedded system. And so I'm making my whole own operating system, real-time operating system and everything to like control trains and traffic trains and whatever. It is such an annoying course. I've written like, or me and my partner have written like 10,000 lines of C so far. And we're still going. We're not even done. We still got another half of the fucking thing to go in 2 weeks. And also on the point of Windows 11, bro, I was forced to upgrade to Windows 11. What was it? 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago? I don't remember how long ago now. But Yeah, when my drive died, I wanted to go back to Windows 10, but I couldn't. So I was forced to go up to Windows 11. What is limit up to? I'm just yapping because I don't want to code today. I don't want to work. I want to break. I've just been too lazy this week. I was gonna work on mem trees, and then I didn't even know what I was gonna work on until like 5 minutes before the stream. I looked at the schedule, saw I was supposed to be mem trees, and I'm like, ah, shit, I don't want to work on mem trees, man. So here I am. I'm yapping so I don't have to work on mem trees. Windows 11 is not bad once you get used to it. Yeah, I ended up changing a bunch of settings so that it feels as close to Windows 10 as possible. And then I just got used to it, right? It feels almost exactly the same as Windows 10 now, except for the fact that, like, I don't know. The only annoying thing is that if I right click, it's not immediately going to show me all the options, and I have to click on like show more options or whatever. That's the only annoying thing for me. Do you plan on trying out front-end panel models? Or are you just going to use VS Code for a good portion of V3? What do you mean front-end panel models? VS Code is just for the coding aspect, right? And it's useful for like running code inside of terminals and whatever. But given V3 is going to be web UI stuff, it's not going to be running purely as a server anymore. There's actually going to be a front-end component to it. It's like an application just like LM Studio or a web application like Cobalt. Hey, that is part of your name, @mylimit or limit can't code. You can fix that with the right-click option. Just check the internets. Oh, really? Okay, I'll probably try change that later then. It's not like a huge deal. What else? What else? Will version 3 become the Windows only, or will you still support other operating systems? I think it really depends on what I end up doing. I would like to still keep it cross-platform compatible, so Mac users, Linux users can still make use of it. The only way I can get around to that though is if for the front end, I end up making a web interface. Another JEISN rewrite? Kinda, yes. For version 3.0. For version 2.0, we had that massive rewrite, and you saw, no, trust me. It's not gonna be as bad. It's gonna be the same architecture, we're just getting rid of implementations. And we're going to be adding in implementations that reduces the complexity of the entire infrastructure a bunch. But yeah, I would love to keep it cross-platform compatible, and so that would mean making it a web application. Because if I were to make it an actual application like LM Studio, I don't think it would be compatible with other operating systems just because of how window managers work. Although there's the possibility that it could work. I would need to figure out how that works. I don't know. Limit can't code. I don't know how to code this shit. I'm learning along the way. But yeah, I think the first iteration might just be a web interface, kind of like how we had in the original prototype. If any of you remember that, we had a web interface.
Refactoring the refactored refact. I am scared.
Yes, exactly. Refactoring the refactored refact. But if you remember the original prototype, before I started the refactor, we actually did have a, where's it? Or actually, hold on. This is the nice part about this. go to one version v1.6.2, right? This was the final version of the prototype, and this one came with an actual web interface, right? This one came with an actual web interface that allowed you to configure a bunch of stuff, as well as control and listen to JEISN, as well as even look at the subtitles and stuff like that, which we ended up losing after the whole refactor because I never maintained this web application. But now that we have a pretty solid idea for what we want to do for the server of Project JEISN, we can just make like a daemon and then have kind of like the same API and stuff like that exposed, but then a separate project that actually is the client or the web server for Project JEISN. And I guess we can also make another one that's like a desktop application, kind of like LM Studio, because I like having LM Studio since this is just a much cleaner, dedicated approach. It's much easier for us to control and stuff. You should ask JEISN what she thinks of her project's name being changed. Bro, she's an OpenAI model. What kind of a response do you expect? She's super supportive of it. She's gonna be like, oh, I love that name. Oh, I love the name Project Vita. It gives a much more elegant vibe or whatever. Something like that. Some shit in an OpenAI model would spew. And I guess also, in terms of content, I don't know, what do you guys even like to watch or want to watch from this channel? Because I know so far what we've had is JEISN solo streams, and then these quote-unquote dev streams. And I guess occasionally there are the gaming streams, but these are so fucking broken, right? So they end up being solo gaming streams, solo limit streams. I don't know. What other kind of like content would you guys be down to watch? Would you guys be down to watch? I don't know. I was having this idea, but I don't know how I'm going to like do this just yet. You need more YouTube videos? You know, I keep thinking to myself, like, every single week, I think to myself at the very beginning, like, okay, I'm gonna get all my work done, and then we're gonna spend a weekend and grind out a bunch of YouTube videos. Grind out all the YouTube videos that I had, like, stockpiled up. But I just never get around to it. Especially after my PC died, I just never got around to it. I don't know. It's been a long ass time since I last uploaded. I guess I really should do that. What was the last video? I think it might have been Fish. The whole Fish TTS stuff. Let's see. The last video. The last video was the Fish video. Yeah. That's something that we need to... That was 3 months ago. Holy. 3 months ago, we need to fucking upload, man. YouTube frogs actually think I'm dead. But the thing is, I really don't even know what I want to upload. Because that video, the video that I had planned, right, is going to be covering the whole of the refactor from version, what was it, 1.6.2 all the way up to version 2.2, right? I wanted to talk about everything that happened in between here, but that is like 300 hours of shit, and I honestly have no idea how to package it or what I want to talk to it about it. I've like made the video, I've made the script for the video like maybe 7 times now, and every single time halfway through I'm just like, this is not it, and so I scrap it. Can you remove Lux's mod role, please? No. You two need to learn to cooperate with each other. I found you through YouTube, to be honest. I feel like that's how 90% of the people find me, is through YouTube. This whole Twitch thing has just been like the whole reason why I started doing these Twitch streams was meant to be as progress updates while I work on Project JAISIN. But it ended up becoming the main thing simply because of how long the whole thing fucking took. Like, holy shit. I honestly feel bad for not uploading. I'm not gonna lie. I do feel bad. So just that finding time to edit and make these videos takes so fucking long. I'll probably end up working on it this week. Oh, not during the week because I'm gonna be dead, but on the weekend of next week. Why all AI VTubers are femboys? I don't know. Coding, anime, that's just like correlation to becoming a fanboy, no? Wait, where are his cat ears? We only bring those out for special occasions. Wait, he admits it? No. I said there's a correlation. I did not say I am a femboy. I said there's a correlation. Okay? Correlation is not causation. Where is the cat ear redeem? I don't know. They're like, I can't believe there are already like only 2 weeks left to this.
Have you had any thoughts on like following the neuropath or SMTH where you have her become really good at some game through ML?
That was also in store for part 3. Part 3, version 3, there's gonna be kind of like a divide, right? The whole point of the Limit Can't Code channel is for me to learn different fields of programming. And so Project JAISIN is like the main field or the main branch that's gonna like branch off and explore other areas as well. And one of them is kind of like game playing modules or stuff for playing games. And so one of the games that I did talk about that I did want her to be able to play is Osu, because that is my main game and everything. But I also do want to get her to be able to play a lot of other board games like Catan or chess and stuff like that. And I think that could be pretty fun to watch at the very least. But having her also play a bunch of other games as well, I don't know. It would just depend on the ability to mod the game, because really, I feel like getting into hacking a game, observing the binaries, and then hooking JAISIN into those games directly, even though it's not meant to be modded in that way, that's gonna take a much longer time for me to learn. Especially now that I know a little bit more about how some of these things work under the hood. But that's kind of like one of the domains that I want to explore, like vision models and having that also play games and stuff, as well as game modding, all of that stuff, game development even, on top of UI development. I guess you could say like each version of Project JAISIN kind of explores a new area of coding and coding disciplines, right? First one was just like prototyping, getting the ball rolling. Number two was actually creating a polished application and distributing it to people. Number three is just like, I don't know, fucking UI and other shit, game making. Is there a way for her to be able to see and understand what she's seeing in somewhat real time? In somewhat real time, yes. You would need to define what real time is, really, right? At what, like, frame rate or polling rate we are talking about in terms of real time, and what are our guarantees. A simple implementation for content is just letting her have the ability to view the screen, no? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, thank you, Crazy Freak, for the follow.
Crazy Freak is now following.
What I was thinking is, as a very easy starting point to get a lot of compatibility with like other games and stuff like chess, right? It's just to have her have a vision model for her and then explain the game rules to her, and then just telling her, okay, based off of this screen or based off of this set of screens, what should your next action be or whatever. And then parsing that out, doing an action for that. I don't know if I'll have like a tool or something for her to actually interact with the game.
Vita React channel would be so cool.
Vita React channel? Bro, Vita is not the name of the VTuber. Vita's the name of the project. Vita's the name of the project. It's not related to it's not related to Jay Eisen. It's just easier to pronounce for me since yeah. To let my AI play games, I'm cheating the game. I'm like reading the memory. I didn't find a best way. Yeah, that is like one way you can do, but it's going to be very game specific. And so you would need to dedicate a lot of time to actually decompile, look at the assembly instructions of the actual game, and then figure out what you need to hook into, where things are being allocated, so you can understand game states and whatever, which is very hacky, but could be fun to explore and learn how to do. Limit, how do you feel about the current state of the J.E. Eisen project? The current state is a fucking love-hate relationship, okay? I love that we've gotten something super fucking flexible and is actually kind of robust, I would say, but it is a complexity nightmare, I will say. It is a maintenance nightmare to keep all of the operation implementations compatible. This is just kind of the problem when you're trying to create a bunch of integrations and support for a bunch of things when you don't necessarily have your final infrastructure finalized and stuff like that. Because the moment you need to start making changes to your infrastructure, you start needing to refactor a lot of individual components. And with each individual component having a bunch of different integrations or implementations, you have to update all of those as well. And so even though you don't have a lot of code duplications, you have a lot of things you still need to update. Also, Crazy? I don't know. I'll call you Crazy Freak. You're welcome for the videos, by the way. And I'm sorry for not uploading. We'll get that sorted out. It's easier to hack into old console games since the locations are very important variables are often well known. Yeah, for something like, I don't know, very old Nintendo games, or I don't know, what was that one racing game that one of the original game playing AIs was trained on? It was using some sort of vision model, looking at the lines on the fucking screen in order to determine how much to turn. I don't remember. But those games are a lot easier. Something like a Tetris AI as well could be pretty fun. Just pick you. You should hook up J.E. Eisen to your editor. That would be pretty cool. There's an MCP model for that. I would be down to do that, and it shouldn't be too hard, but the only thing is that I don't want to... I want to like figure out a better flow for interacting
Will
with
Jason have
JAIs and
support to
on-stream
run
during
on
dev
literal
streams.
potato like Doom that runs on anything? XDD.
On a literal potato, it could be pretty hard, but I think it should even be possible right now. Or not like right now, but it should be possible with current technology, right? We have small enough speech-to-text models. We have small enough text-to-text models. We don't even need an AI model for text-to-speech. You could get an end-to-end pipeline for an AI personality to run on a potato, like a fucking Raspberry Pi or something. Raspberry Pis aren't even that much of a potato. I don't know, what are we talking like standards of potatoes? What if we one day like mod a Wii, like an original Wii, to just try and run a fucking JAI SYN on it? ESP32? What's an ESP32? ESP32. Basically like a Raspberry Pi. How old is this though? Low cost, energy efficient microcontroller with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Damn, that's advanced. How much memory are we working with though? Guess it would depend. 240 megahertz? Sheesh. That boy is zooming. My potato is my potato. My AI is running on a GTX 980 Ti. I mean, I feel like when we say potato, we're talking like systems that don't even have a dedicated GPU or NPU, but more or less like a low power processor, kind of like this one, or a microcontroller. ESP32 is a spicy potato. Yeah, it would really depend, because this is just a microcontroller, right? This isn't including the RAM or whatever. Is it including RAM? It would have its own cache, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know. You could add your own RAM, maybe. Then they have their wireless module, so I don't know. GPIO. Oh, no. This is not a chip. This is a actual board. How much RAM does it have? 520 kilobytes? I don't know. It could be, it's gonna be real spicy. Fucking running a 10, not even a 10 million parameter. We're gonna have to be running like a 10,000 parameter LLM. It's doomed. I think the only way this would be possible is if you're running the actual model on a separate server and using this simply as a client. I don't think it's possible. This is simply too small. RISC-V would need new code to run the new models, no. RISC-V architecture, no. I think you can use Vulkan for that, because Vulkan's cross-platform compatible, and I think it already encompasses RISC-V, right? Vulkan, RISC-V. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it already supports it. And so if you look at Llama CPP, there's already a runtime for it for Vulkan. So we don't need to do anything additional for that. And I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news recently for Llama CPP, but AMD has recently made a merge request, or I don't know if it's been merged yet, but AMD Llama CPP, they made a merge request to support it. And so that's like a major step forward for them, right? For running AI locally. This was 2 days ago. This pull request. This is like pretty huge in terms of AMD support on or running models locally. Especially since pretty much every single, or the vast majority of these libraries are using Llama CPP under the hood. For GPU, server GPUs, yes, but the point is that they're finally making the push to support AMD cards and all of that stuff within Llama CPP natively without relying on something like Vulkan, right? Because Llama CPP, I don't think it has a ROC M runtime, and so there isn't inherent AMD GPU support, right? If we look at the releases, we have CUDA, we have Mac OS, we have Vulkan, we have generic CPU. We have this Radeon one. I don't really know what this one is about. But this one isn't ROCm, I'm pretty sure. That's huge, but NVIDIA is far away right now. They are far away, but it's about like pushing the needle in that direction. If NVIDIA keeps like slacking and trying to like play these games when it comes to making AI locally runnable for a lot of consumers and keep playing like this their game with their whole monopoly of like price gouging and whatever, and I think they're going to start falling behind, especially when AMD is going down the route of like, oh, their Ryzen AI Maxes, right? That's already a push in the right direction for them in terms of, oh, NVIDIA is trying to cheap out in terms of VRAM, trying to make like cards that only support smaller amounts of VRAM. Well, then AMD is going to go down the route of supporting large amounts of VRAM so the consumers can run larger models even if it is slower, right? They're just filling in a different niche, but then they're going to start catching up through that niche. It does, but only Linux for ROCm? I suppose so. But then this is labeled with Windows, so I don't know. Yeah, AMD is catching up. I really do hope AMD does catch up so that there isn't as much of a monopoly for NVIDIA anymore. Because man, these fucking cards are getting expensive. Okay. OpenAI, Google, and NVIDIA are building an AI OS. I did not hear about this. What? AI OS. OpenAI is building an operating system for AI agents. Oh, probably for like... Okay, yeah, I can see that. I can see that being reasonable. It's not going to be like an operating system like Windows is for consumers. It's going to be an operating system for specifically running AI models that are closer to the hardware level so that they just run faster, right? It's kind of like the same thing what I'm doing for my school assignment right now, where we're making drivers and whatever, or making an operating system for controlling trains, right? Controlling trains closer at the hardware level as opposed to running Linux and then creating an application in Linux that controls the trains. No, that's not like, it's different. The speed differences are different. And it really does make a difference when you can get past the kernel layer and run directly on hardware. You just ordered an RTX 5070 Ti. How much does that cost? 5070 Ti. And how much VRAM does it have actually? 1,000 Canadian. Okay, that's honestly not as bad as I thought it'd be. But how much VRAM does it have? VRAM. 16 gigabytes. Okay. That's honestly not bad. For NVIDIA, that's honestly not bad. I was expecting like 1.5K and then 12 gigabytes. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that would be possible for NVIDIA. Don't worry, NVIDIA 6090 will have like 69 megabytes in space for VRAM. It costs $69,000. So true. You need a new motherboard and everything? Bro, how old is your motherboard? For you to not be able to support 5070 Ti? Wait, is the entire 50 series like... Does the entire 50 series have that problem with CUDA compatibility? Or is it just the 5090? All 50 series? That's fucking crazy. I guess that would explain a lot. But needing a whole new motherboard is like... That's crazy. I would not expect that. I would think like, I don't know, if your PC has PCIe Gen 5, then that would be enough. But I guess like PCIe Gen 5 is still relatively new, all things considered. You tried on a 5080, a 5090, and a 5070. Bro just has all the graphics cards. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, does bro work at NVIDIA or something? Just gets to play around with GPUs all day? That'd be sick though. GDDR7. Also, cloud GPU for AI stuff for the win, lol. Oh, right. You could just use cloud GPUs, right? Add it for my school labs? That's sick. I think for running models locally, NPU will be the way. VRAM is too expensive currently. What is the state of NPUs at the current moment? NPU. What are like current NPUs that we have? We don't have any like consumer available ones, right? I think the consumer available ones are like, they're not like graphics cards or whatever, but they're like, they're like much more cheaply made than GPU. So consumer NPU. Buyer's Guide to an NPU. I don't know. I have no clue like what's going on inside of the NPU space. AMD 395 Plus thing, NPU is inside the CPU. Okay. AMD 395, AMD 395. Oh, the AMD Ryzen Max, yeah. Wait, it has an NPU? I thought it was just a... I guess it would be. But then the NPU is like capable of graphics still, no? I don't think it's like a pure NPU. At least in the way that I'm thinking. Because I don't know. NPU was just something that I heard of like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. Graphics is mostly matmulls anyways. Yeah. That's why they're good for neural networks. That is true. I guess you could get away with doing graphics on an NPU. I don't think they really categorize the chip on the AI Ryzen Max as a NPU, do they? I guess they just categorize as a general processing unit as opposed to a CPU, a GPU, or whatever. I guess they do. NPU tops, GPU parts. Interesting. And I'm just waiting for my new PC to come in from Framework. It was supposed to start releasing in Q3, no? Are we not in Q3 already? How much longer do we have to wait? It was a Framework desktop, 64GB model. I bought it like a long time ago. I pre-ordered it a long time ago. Back while I was still in Germany, in fact. Like, it was supposed to start releasing or start shipping out in Q3. I feel like we're almost we're approaching Q4 now. Actually, are we? No, wait. We just entered Q3, but we still got no news of it besides the fact that they delayed it a little bit. Yeah, the Framework desktop, yeah, that's what I was talking about. That's why I mentioned it. It has the AI Ryzen Max inside of it. What are your new awaiting PC specs? It is... I need to check which one specifically. All I know is it has 64GB of shared memory, which is like the big thing. And the fact that it's like a separate computer is gonna save me so much fucking headaches. The reason why I don't want to... A big reason why I don't want to do a lot of like collab gaming streams with JEISIN at the moment is just because I'm limited on VRAM so severely. When it comes to running VTube Studio as well as Project JEISIN at the same time while streaming on OBS, bro, my fucking VRAM just dies. And it makes for a horrible viewing experience. You guys end up like 10 minutes delayed every other minute. When will you open up JEISIN to contributions? It is already technically open up to contributions. It's just that nobody's contributing. It's not anymore, simply because of how many refactors we had to do. I think I will be more open to contributions once version 3.0 comes around. The core will be much more open to features because like I've already got all the core features that I wanted to explore implemented, and so there's nothing left for me to really explore there as like a major new feature. And so people can like, I don't know, suggest their own ideas and stuff. And I think by that point we'll have an actually concrete structure and we won't be like refactoring the entire project every other week or something. That's like the main thing. Like, I was so hesitant to refactor the second time because we already had a bunch of people contributing and wanting to contribute. But then I knew if I refactored again, then that would just like kill a lot of the interest in terms of like the developers helping out and stuff. And it kind of did, which is unfortunate, but maybe we can regain that momentum eventually. Yeah, once this new computer comes in, I can run all the models for JEISIN on a separate computer. I can also run like more sophisticated models as well at the same time, run it all locally. And then I can just focus on doing the OBS and VTube Studio stuff on my computer. And that should be like well within the resources to stream properly. I predict that after 3.0, there will be another refactor. I mean, there's always a chance, but I feel like it won't be for a long time, and it definitely won't change the main response structure. I think the structure that we have right now is more than good enough for all of my plans in the future. And everything else can just be extended through like the server API and stuff like that, right? I don't think we'll ever be changing the actual response pipeline unless if there's like a really good reason to, like some new research comes out. But who the fuck is researching fucking AI response pipelines for personality? I don't think there's that many people. What models are you currently running locally, LLM plus CTS? 4-bit quantized Llama 3 8 billion. And Mellow TTS or TTS. Programmers refactor as much as hobbits eat. That is true. Refactoring is just good though. Like, it's just good for making better optimized code, especially when you're first learning things, right? Like, the reason why I'm refactoring so much all the time is because, well, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So the more I work on this, the more I actually learn what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. And so I refactor with better practices. So this is actually maintainable in the future and something that people will be, something that is actually like up to standard, right? If I kept it the same way that I had originally, bro, it would be so fucked up. It would be so fucked up. Back when I first implemented plugins and all of that stuff, I did not know what MCP was. Now that we have this new refactor, I was able to easily integrate MCP, and that's like much better, right? That's like much better for maintainability and for keeping up with current standards. You can always write something better. Yes, you can always write something better, and it's like chasing perfectionism. That is like kind of one of my pitfalls, right? So I need to know when to stop, but it's also like you can't just forego making things better just because it's redundant, right? You need to kind of balance refactoring as well as you need to balance being up to date, but not refactoring for the sake of refactoring. With 6 gigabytes of VRAM, you can run an LLM and a speech-to-text model and a 2D model with little animations, but you can't stream or launch a game. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Especially when it comes to like streaming and using VTube Studio for streaming, like running VTube Studio on its own is like completely fine. But then once you have to hook up VTube Studio into OBS, that like, it explodes the amount of fucking VRAM you have to use. In fact, let me just check really quick. How much VRAM am I using now for this? YouTube Studio, I can't even see because the fucking drivers aren't installed properly. Or not the drivers, it's not showing in Task Manager properly. But yeah, currently just idle, using 4 gigabytes of VRAM, right? Normally, if it was just one instance of VTube Studio open, no OBS, then that would be like sub 1 gigabyte. Totes, refactor to make the next features better and the code base less crufty. Yeah, we want a less crufty code base. Right now, we have a really crufty code base. And so the next refactor that we do is just gonna lean it down a lot more and make things a lot easier to understand. A lot of the complexity right now comes from having to manage and switch between the different implementations that we have, right? Sure, there are like design patterns for that we are using, but even then, it's like fucking look at all of this. Look at all of this code that we need just to support these different integrations, versus if we were to just have one, then say a 0, we could just have this and that's it. And in fact, it would be even less because we don't need to have all of this like special formatting and whatever. We don't need to have we don't have to need to have all of this dynamic configuration or just dynamic processing, formatting of inputs and all of that stuff, because it would just be, we would already have a guarantee on what the inputs and outputs would look like, so we can just code it like that. I don't know. All I'm saying is just like the refactor, the amount of lines in the code base gonna go down significantly. At least that's the hope. And that would also in turn lead to a much smaller and simpler to run configuration that is like idiot proof. No way people can mess it up. At least I hope. People are always gonna find a way to mess it up, but at least it'll be easier to explain, right? Watching you write this makes me want to give a try at writing something like this, lol. Yeah, writing big projects like this, it's fun, but it's like the masochistic kind of fun, right? You're gonna reach points where you're just gonna be bashing your head and being like, why did I take this on? Why am I not just doing a simpler fucking application? Why am I trying to support all of these different features? You're gonna start thinking to yourself like, if I had like chosen to reduce my scope even a little bit, my life would be 10 times better. But then you actually like stop working on it and you look at what you've done and you're like, damn, this is actually pretty cool. And it's like, I don't remember who said this. It was like one of the other AI VTubers that I rated in the past, but it's like, you can easily overcomplicate a project like this, right? You can easily overcomplicate a AI VTuber, but really in principle, making an AI VTuber is super fucking simple. Yeah, you really don't need a lot of code. You can even do it all in one file to make a AI VTuber, but it's just like adding all of the extra features and flexibility and support. That's where a lot of the additional infrastructure comes in, and that's where you get to start playing the game of system design and stuff like that. You got me something? You're gonna DM me? I'll check it out in a moment. It's fun until you have 100 issues on GitHub and people screaming at you. Thankfully, I don't have a lot of people screaming at me, mainly because this shit is so impossible to use at the moment that people just don't use it. And they just use it as like a reference for their own projects. I think you have a lot more features than me. I mean, I don't think anybody who has an AI VTuber for their own personal use is going to try and support 5-6 different kind of TTS engines. It's just not necessary. This is for Shadow. I am not running that. I am just looking at the code and I already know what this does. Mod abuse. You can run it yourself? Bro, at that point you can just ban him yourself. You're a fucking mod. Please don't ban him. Please don't ban him. If you want to plug a TTS and speech-to-text a LLM and a 2D or 3D model, is pretty simple. Yeah, it is pretty simple just to get like a basic pipeline done like that. 'Cause that's all it is. All it is just a series of function calls. You can do it from scratch in 1 week. Yes, you can. What the fuck, Lament? What do you mean, what the fuck? What'd I do? Quit school and go full-time AI VTuber maintenance? Bro, I'm gonna be living even more of a degen lifestyle than I am right now. Like, you know what I did? Yesterday, I was too lazy to go and make dinner while I was working on my assignment. So what I did was I took a instant ramen packet. Instead of boiling it and eating it, I was like, yo, that's too much time. So I just like crushed up the ramen, dumped the powder inside, and just started like shoveling the dry ramen into my mouth while drinking water to hydrate it. Why 5 different models? Because I'm supporting different models, right? The point of Project JAISEN, or at least this version of Project JAISEN, was to allow compatibility with other services, so people could run Project JAISEN even on really crappy machines, right? Or to simplify the fine-tuning process, or I don't know, just to support a bunch of different services, right? So we have support for Fish Audio, their API. We have support for OpenAI and their TTS generation. We also have support for PyTTS if you want like faster TTS and don't care for intonation, or same with Azure, or you can just like run locally with Mellow TTS, right? And that's all different implementations. Realistically, if you were a user, you would only be using one option and you would never really switch. But the fact is that I'm playing around with all of these options and I'm including them because it's like example code for people to use as a reference, right? This project is not my personal AI VTuber. This project is an open source AI VTubing framework. Are the TTS engines different? Couldn't they use the same interface? They are all different. They all use very different interfaces. And they all use very different techniques for generating speech. Like, it's not like OpenAI, where there's an OpenAI compatible API and then a bunch of other providers kind of rode on that standard and are also providing that, right? TTS is very finicky because it's like in very old field, as well as there'd be no real standard for it. Limit, make me a mod that will solve all problems. I can't. I'm not gonna do anything. They can keep fighting it out. What do you see V3 looking like? I'm seeing V3 looking like a much more polished version of the prototype, right? In terms of the web interface. In terms of the web interface, right? To start off, we're going to be making a web app. And then after that, we'll look into making a actual desktop application, right? But for the web app, I just want to improve on what I was doing originally, because now that we actually have a proper standard for our API and our WebSocket calls and all that stuff, we can much more easily make a web app. And we can actually make it clean for once. The last one that I made was okay, but it wasn't like a clean interface. It was like clearly 1900s pilled type UI. $1900 style is sexy. Yes, yes. I love my MySpace looking pages. But we can definitely come up with something that looks a lot better than what we had before, right? I don't even remember what the old... Do we still have images of the old version that I could like check out? Going down like memory road. Nostalgia trip. Oh, the old green screen page. Oh yeah. We got snippets here and there of the old UI. Didn't even look that bad. Like, come on, come on. See that drop shadow? Yes. That's not keeping up with the times. That's clearly 1900s type beat. Not even 1900, that's like early 2000s, mid 2000s. It was so dumb though. The trend with like drop shadows being a crime or some shit. Bring me back to buttons that are trying to look real. I'm pretty sure what could be really cool as well is I'm pretty sure VTube Studio SDK. No. Live 2D SDK. Yeah, Live 2D, the thing that drives VTube Studio and all these other 2D avatar motion thingies for VTuber models, they have an SDK for JavaScript as well. And I was thinking, like, what if we made support for running your VTuber model inside of the browser? And I'm pretty sure there might be already something like that. VTube Studio for browser. I don't know, something like that. Live 2D for browser. I don't know. But they have a bunch of like, yeah, Cubism for Unity, Native for the web, Unreal Engine, a bunch of stuff. So I think it could be pretty cool to try and at least recreate some features of VTube Studio inside of a web browser, but it's not like we're ever going to be leaving VTube Studio, right? Because VTube Studio just has a lot of features that would be super useful for us, and also is just compatible with other VTubers for collabs and stuff. Question, don't you think when the project will release, like a lot of clone AI VTubers will come up? Yeah, that is something that I considered before I even started this project. Like, I was debating whether if I should even make this an open source project or not, right? And I was like, okay, if I make this open source, we're gonna end up with a lot of slop AI VTubers, right? A lot of slop AI VTubers. And am I okay with that? And I started thinking about it, seeing all the other AI slop content as well, with like the Reddit AI slop YouTube shorts and shit like that. And I was just like, you know, there's already projects out there like that, but they're all doing it for the sake of like, oh, making it a proper AI agent system, right? Or AI personality that has the option for streaming. But I was like, you know what? I'm doing this for learning, and the fact that there are other people out there that may also want to learn how this is done as well, I'm gonna make this an open source project simply because it is a good learning tool, right? I'm not gonna sit here and act like this is the AI VTuber project, like this is the most well fleshed out AI VTuber project, because there are a ton of other AI VTuber projects out there that are a lot simpler to install, that are a lot better for the purposes of actually streaming or making an AI personality, right? But this is just a resource that I can come back to and look at and understand how things are being done, how systems are being written in a not like rushed, simple, cheap way, right? I want to like actually put thought into these systems and showcase to you guys that, you know, some of the ways in which I'm thinking of how making AI VTuber can be done, and in an efficient way. Like if I search up open source AI VTuber, I'm pretty sure there's like a GitHub topic for it, GitHub topics, and like there's a bunch of projects already on here, right? Open LLM VTuber, just like one of the biggest ones. Project Airy. I've never actually taken a look at this one, but it's pretty similar, and there's a bunch more, right? Like Project JEISON isn't even on here. We have Waifu AI VTuber. I'm pretty sure, is Z Waifus on here? I don't remember if Z Waifus is on here, or Sugarcane Defender project is on here, but there's a bunch more out there. We'll probably have AI VTubers everywhere in a year. The reason why I'm like fine with having this as an open source project, even as a learning tool, and knowing that this might contribute to like the AI VTuber surge in the future, is that I feel like, at least for live streaming, especially for live streaming, the only people for live streaming and content creation, the main people that are gonna make it are the people who actually put in the effort, right? You're not gonna have, it's not like YouTube Shorts where anybody can make it just by spamming a bunch of content, right? I feel like the people that actually make it are gonna be people like Vidal, who actually, like, Vidal could literally has the best AI VTubing system currently, right? Closed source, whatever, is still the best one out there. And yet, this guy is not fucking sitting on his ass doing nothing all day, right? It's not like he's fucking farming content. Because this guy understands that if he isn't putting in the effort to make content, then he's just not gonna grow, right? And that's true for any sort of content creation. You're not gonna grow if you're not putting in actual effort into it, like proper, sincere effort. So if you're like picking up a project like this, expecting to just be one and done, I just download the project, get a simple model, start AI VTubing, and then sit back and relax, right? And that's not gonna fucking work out. There are a lot of them. Yeah, like there are currently, even right now, there are currently a lot of AI VTubers, but I feel like the ones that actually keep on AI VTubing are the ones that are actually putting in some effort, at least onto their streams, even if they aren't technically savvy, let's say. There are a lot of them, but they are not really good. Yeah, it's all about adding the polish on top of it, right? Like right now, I am more comfortable being the streamer than letting J.E. Ison be the streamer, because J.E. Ison is just not a good AI VTuber at the moment. If I let J.E. Ison be the primary source of content for all of these streams, then fuck, bro. We'll be at like 3 viewers every single fucking stream, I swear to God. And there's a reason why Vito is the only big AI VTuber for 3 years. Yeah, it's just this guy like hit the mark early on and he just like kept on grinding. This guy did not get complacent. He just has a really good eye for content. To be fair, streaming is like podcasting, and there is a lot of podcast law. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I feel like once I reach the point where I think I'm getting really close though, to the point where I have I'll have a AI VTuber that I'm actually confident in letting solo stream as a primary source of content, with or without me collaborating with it, and letting other people collaborate with it. I feel like I'm getting really close to that point, right? We already have all the features that I want in place, but the main thing left is just getting these models right. And I think ever since the last stream, seeing the results of that, I think I know where to go from there. It's just gonna take some time to actually curate the data set to get an initial personality going, so we can start generating larger and larger data sets and farming more content with her. For now, he is the best, but I'm sure Nero will soon have a hard challenge. Well, I feel like it'll be a couple of years. Bro should just train it off of this chat. I don't even think this chat would be good for training, for a training data set. I'm not gonna lie. Like, sure, it is good conversation data, but it's very different from the way that I want J.A. Ison to be a content creator, right? I can't even use my own responses, or I can't even use my own responses to chat as something for J.E. Ison to respond like, because, well, these responses are way too long and way too technical, right? It's not like something, it's not like an entertaining kind of chat, right? It's not like the kind of entertaining streamer comedy kind of LLM responses. Jay Ison would just gamble all the time. That's true. It's gonna be poisoned with fucking prediction gamba. Oh my god, where'd my points go? Lux is ruining my gambling experience. No. All in on heads. Gamble Jay Ison heads or tails. Oh my god. But yeah, I would also need to like fix up a lot of the applications so she could have the ability to, I don't know, message on Discord or change stream titles or manage her own streams and stuff, right? Going towards the route of the AI being able to self-manage their own kind of content as opposed to having to be interject all the time. You can take chat, but not fully. Yes, but at the same time, it's like chat responses as well as my responses, none of them really fit the model for, none of them really fit the criteria for what I want J.E. Ison to respond like. So really, I would want to create my own scenarios and then create the responses that I want J.E. Ison to respond with, which is going to be really hard. But at the end of the day, it's going to be ultimately storytelling and ultimately finding good samples that I turn into scripts, which turn into responses. And that'll probably come from like seeing other streamers collaborate with each other, or me just creating hypothetical scenarios and responses and stuff like that. There you go, you gambling addicts. It's one. I FF the dataset right now? What do you mean FF the dataset? I haven't looked at like AI monitor viewing or anything ever, but do you think it would be like something that could be accomplished within a couple of days? AI monitor viewing. Yeah, well, you can get it done in a single day actually. You would just need to know where to look. That's like true for anything. I guess a good place to start looking is just computer vision models, right? Computer vision models, what you can do is just have a library, OpenCV. Yeah, you can have OpenCV, take a screenshot of your entire screen, send that through a computer vision model to turn the screenshot into text, and then use that as context inside the input for your LLM, and that's your pipeline. I'm pretty sure OpenCV might also even have their own vision models as well, right? Because they're not just for image and screen manipulation, but they're also actually computer vision. It's literally called Open Computer Vision after all. So look into OpenCV. Role-playing with open AIs is what I'm hearing, lol. Pretty much. The thing with... It's really like... How do I describe this? Like I was describing at the beginning of stream, all AIs are the same, right? There's no difference between a role-playing AI, there's no difference between a instruct AI, there's no difference between any of these AIs. It's simply how they're fine-tuned and the structure of the inputs in which they were fine-tuned on, or the structure of the blocks of text that they were fine-tuned on. All LLMs are just text generation machines. There are no special operations that go on to parse in inputs any differently than in outputs, really. You should really try to play around with synthetic data sets. Would be fun to see. Well, the thing is, I am playing around with a lot of synthetic data sets, and synthetic and real data sets. Like you saw last stream was from a Discord data set that was pulled from real data from a bunch of Discord servers that then got sent onto Kaggle and whatever. But the reason why I don't do fine-tuning on stream is simply because of resources, right? It's gonna take up my entire GPU. I literally cannot stream that shit. Even for recordings, Like, most of the time I do not record when I'm fine-tuning my models because, again, I can't record and fine-tune at the same time, at least without gimping the actual recording or the fine-tuning performance. You could always use base models. That is what I'm doing. Like I said, all these models are the same, and they're no different from fine-tuning a base model with enough iterations. Like, when we say lobotomize in AI, all we're really meaning is kind of resetting the structure of inputs in which it was trained on, right? OpenAI has their own kind of chat template, or I guess share ML. Let's do share ML. Share ML chat template. Chat template example. Do you have images of it? We don't really have images of it, but there's like chat templates for AI models, and they're like very specific. But each model would be trained with a specific chat template. So something like Llama would be trained with the Llama 3.1 chat template or something like that, right? Or something that just looks like this, I don't know. But when we lobotomize it, we basically make it forget how this chat template is ever structured, and then we can retrain it with a new kind of chat template like share ML or something like that. Yeah, this is the chat template. I don't know for which one though. It looks something like this. I'm pretty sure this is Llama's chat template. I'm building an AI VTuber. My goal is to do a neurosama, but have a good trained model. To be entertaining is hard. Yes, it is quite hard. Because getting a data set that is good for, that is like neurosama, requires you to think like neurosama. You're not going to find a synthetic data set or any of that sort online. You would probably need to, if you want it to sound exactly like neurosama, you could just go to neurosama streams and just literally take exactly what she is saying, and then maybe use some form of Twitch chat or the dialogue that's going on inside of the conversation of the collab, and then turning that into a data set, right? I don't really want to do that because I don't want to like steal Beetle's work or anything. That is just out of principle, but you can do that if you want. Not gonna judge. You just have to get her chat's data set exactly. Seeing this reminded me that I still need to come up with a master's thesis topic. How did this remind you of that? Oh god. Fucking more uni stuff. Heckin' love uni. I heckin' love school. Man, I used to way prefer school over work. And then I started this project and I got my new full-time offer, and I was like, man, I really fucking hate school. Especially after this term, I am so fucking burnt out from school, man. Oh my god. Normally I would be super burnt out from work because the projects that I get are like super boring or I'm not into it at all. But I don't know, man. I feel like burnout is entirely to do with just like whether you are jiving with your projects or not. That can be really, that's like really obvious, but like how productive you feel when you're working on a project or working on a assignment or whatever. Like this term, yeah, I'm doing a lot, but I also feel like I'm not really jiving or learning a lot. And so I'm like fucking burnt out from school right now. Whereas work, I would way prefer work, especially since it gives me back so much time to work on Project JEIs and stuff like that. Like, oh my god, ever since coming back to school, I have not opened my video editor once. I haven't worked on a single video ever since coming back to school. Whereas at work, even though I might be on fucking working overtime till 8 p.m. or even 12 p.m. sometimes, I still have more time to fucking work on videos than I would in school. Most projects in my uni were just some web dev slop, so I always prefer doing work slash solo dev. I mean, it's very, I don't know. It's very different at my school, at least, because my school, when we say computer science, we really do mean computer science in getting down to the theoretical side of things. And so my school, I don't think has taught us a single practical thing for industry, right? The most practical thing we learned is like the programming language, and that's it. We don't learn any frameworks. We don't learn like, I guess it really depends on the course. But for pure CS courses, we don't really get that, right? We just learn a lot of math and a lot of algorithms and a lot of design, which can get very boring at times. But I used to prefer it because I used to just like, the courses I used to take were a lot easier, so I used to have a lot more time, but now I don't have like fucking piss all for time. And so I just hate it. But yeah, I wish they taught us more practical stuff inside of university. But then again, it's also stuff that you could just learn on your own, right? Like I never learned any sort of web dev stuff inside of university. I pretty much just learned it on my own when I started learning coding for the first time while inside of university. So if you do computer science, it's just math in computers. Depends on the school, I would say. If you go to any top school, in Canada, that would be like Waterloo, U of T, places like there. Those would most definitely be theoretical and not teach you a lot of application. Versus if you were to go to a smaller university or even a college or something like that, I feel like they are more likely to teach you application of side of things because they're more focused on trying to get you a job as opposed to being prestigious in academics and stuff. I really like math in uni. I would never have motivation to learn alone. Math in uni, it really depends on the prof. But I really haven't been liking math in uni. I used to really like math, and I used to be pretty good at math. But ever since coming to university, seeing how they teach it and seeing how soulless it feels, I just don't like it. Especially like I think it's all about your experience. And if you end up with an experience that like rubs you the wrong way, then it can really kill your motivation to continue learning it afterwards, right? Even if it's just a one-time thing. Like, bro, going to those classes, being just a number and not being like one in like 1,000 people. We had so many people enrolled during that year, about like over 1,000 people, over 1,000 people. No, I'm pretty sure we were over enrolled by 1,000 people, which means we had more than 1,000 people, probably like 3,000 people initially in the program. And so 3,000 people for one course, yeah, they're not going to care about you. And so that like ended up killing my motivation to learn math in university. I just finished high school and I'm still looking for a good college. High school nerd. Bro, what? I mean, I feel like I'm not really sure about the market right now, but it used to be that you could go to any university or any college. You could even like not go to university or college, and you could still end up with like a software developer position. But that's if you spend the time to actually learn on your own. But even then, like it used to be like doing boot camps and whatever could get you a pretty good like web dev position, let's say. But nowadays it's like almost a turn off, and there are so little positions left in market at the current moment that it's a lot of competition, I would say. I mean, I would say I got lucky in the program that I got, providing so many internships and stuff. But even then, it's like super hard to find an internship in the current market. So even then, I got really lucky with where I'm going to now. All right, 2.5 hours, damn. I've actually rambled for a long ass fucking time. Yeah, this was a nice stream. To be fair, your internship was in Germany. Yeah, I had to search out that far to get my final internship. I could not land an internship inside of Canada or America, so I had to look internationally. And that's just like the current game I had to be playing. So yeah, I don't know. This is a very different stream from usual. I don't get to actually like talk normally like this. Not talking about code all the time or fucking fighting with J.E. Ison. And nice. Might do this more often maybe. I don't know. Do you guys like, I don't know. Do you guys actually prefer the coding streams? Or do you just like want to hear me talk about shit like this? Speaking of different streams, maybe a limit yapping stream like this could be something that happens more often. Yeah, because I was like debating, like, doing the coding streams, I feel like a lot of people do get lost in terms of what I'm doing, and people joining halfway through, they have like no context as to what I'm doing. Coding streams are meh, prefer if it be worked off stream. That's kind of like the consensus that I'm feeling as well. Like maybe every now and then I could do a coding stream, but definitely not a weekly thing. Maybe like a bi-weekly thing. And then I could like I could have like an actual stream like this one where I actually talk about shit. Those can be the dev streams. Concept and planning streams would be cool though. Yeah. Need to do more work than just doing university to find first work. Whenever I look for candidates, first thing I look at is their GitHub profiles. Yeah, the thing is, like, yeah, my school, they do a lot of internships. Like, internships are baked into the program, right? So even for this last internship, I already had like 5 other previous internships, and yet it was still super freaking difficult. It's not like the internships that I had were no names or irrelevant positions, or they were like all really decent, but it's like the job market just kept getting harder and harder, at least during the time that I was doing applications about a year ago. You can still teach, but we don't watch you code. Yeah. Something like, okay, something like the, when we were first looking into knowledge graphs and then reading the article on the knowledge graphs and checking out stuff like that, or even just reading articles in general, or just yapping about Project JEIs and stuff like that. I feel like those could be better dev streams versus decoding streams. And I feel like, yeah, in terms of coding, it would be a lot easier for me to code off stream as well. Both are good. In coding, we are lost because we don't focus on the code like you do, because it's not our project. And just talking in the schedule and when you feel that you prefer to talk. I think what I'll do from now on is whenever there's like a dev stream or something, dev streams are probably just going to focus on like learning something new in terms of doing research or like talking about Project JEIs and giving us status updates. But I think in terms of coding, I think that's more or less something that I'm just going to save for the YouTube channel, because it is so fucking hard. It is so fucking hard to concentrate on coding while also trying to yap about what I'm code. I'm not good at interviews for this very purpose, right? Fucking trying to explain out my code as I work through it, it's not a good time. Project Vita. Probably gonna have to make an official announcement for Project Vita soon enough. It is a little dry in YouTube. The YouTube channel is a little dry, I will not lie. 3 months since last upload. But I do want to like... Now that we're done like the prototyping phase, there is like kind of a shift in the content that I want to do for Limit Can't Code, right? The kind of shift is less towards the specifics of the actual code itself, but more towards like, I don't know.
Love seeing him struggle to read my messages when I type them fast and being sleepy XDD.
Yeah. It doesn't help that I'm like borderline cannot read properly as well most of the time. Yeah, the kind of shift that I want to do for LCC is that less of the actual code itself or even like the design patterns itself, and more so on the lessons that I learn while actually coding, as well as maybe like broader topics, right? Not so specific as something like, oh, we're integrating fish today and this is how you do fish and all this voice cloning stuff. I want it to be more like topical, right? I want to be able to explain the topic and not talk about implementing the topic. And so I guess that's kind of like why I've been struggling with the recent video that I was supposed to be released for the refactor. It's mainly because it's like 300 hours of just coding the same thing over and over and over again. So I'm just like trying to come up with something that's like, I don't know, how the fuck do I make this entertaining? How do I make this like actually worth watching? How do I, what kind of message am I even trying to convey with this fucking like video? Besides the fact that, hey, version 2.2 is out, even though it's been out for like 3 months now. I don't know. Yeah, I think once I do finish school, I think I will have a lot more time to focus on Project JEISON and to really like play around with a lot of the other parts of the project that I didn't get to play around with now. It's kind of hard because like I said in one of my previous streams, one of the main things that I do want to do with Project JEISON at some point is get into robotics. And that's just kind of not possible right now, right? I mean, is this your last term? This is my last term. This is my very last term. And well, the whole reason why I'm doing this whole real-time course with the operating system and the whole trains thing is because I'm trying to learn embedded for the future projects and the future direction of Project JEISON, or Project Vita, let's say, right? And so once I actually finish school, once I actually have a place to settle, then I'll actually be able to start committing to buying resources and stuff, because I won't be moving countries and whatever. And so I can actually start working on the whole robotics side and start learning without having to throw a bunch of shit out. Yeah, he's last termed and we get more of him. Yeah, you do get more of me. You ready? Hope you aren't sick of me just yet. Could you try just implementing music files and try to have her rebuild that sound through her TTS from singing streams? I'll just talk about it now. For singing streams, there are like 2 ways in which you can do it. I wouldn't recommend training her on sound music files, but basically, oh fuck, it's 2.5 hours in, we can keep going. Basically, how TTS works, RVC currently, right? RVC is really easy to do covers with, right? Because you can isolate sound, you can isolate vocals, and you can also voice change the vocals. So this will apply the same sort of pitch modulation, the duration of speech, all of that on top of the actual singing. right? I'd done this previously when I first tried out RVC on like fucking Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, whatever. So you can easily make covers through this pipeline, right? This is already implemented inside of RVC's, or at least the RVC boss's version of RVC, if I can pull that up, right? This is already integrated into here in some tab in here, but I feel like that's a very cheap way of doing it and doesn't produce very good results. The best way, or at least the way that, or I'll get to that in a moment. The other way that you can do this is through direct text-to-speech. Something like MeloTTS has inside of its model duration as well as pitch modulation. So you can specify the duration in which to say a specific syllable or sound, as well as the pitch in which to modulate that sound to create intonation and stuff like that. And so you can get it to sing directly even without the actual sound file, as long as you know the actual rhythm of the song, as well as the pitches in which it should go through. But the way that I want to do it is through Vocaloid and through creating my own voice bank, right? I feel like, I don't know, this is mainly a matter of taste. I think you would get more natural singing out of direct text-to-speech and modulating it through there. But I do like the sound of produced through Vocaloids, and at least the intonation produced through Vocaloid. And it isn't hard to make a Vocaloid voice from a RVC model. You just need to put in the time and effort to actually make the voice bank for that. And then that is something that's more portable and usable by even like Vocaloid artists. So something that you can give out for free and let people like create covers with, you know. Could be really fun to do in the future, and fun to see what comes out of that. Making the AI sing and create music is a bit harder. Yeah, like even Beetle right now, it's not like Beetle is making custom songs purely using AI, right? And I don't think he ever would. I don't think he would ever do any sort of art-related stuff purely with AI, because that's just not in his principle, I think. But I don't know. Something about AI music. I feel like it's always just better when it comes to the art side of things to do it through a person and to do it personally, just because it does allow you to. It is something that, like, it's not like words in which it's easy to replicate the same sort of feelings or sentiments, right? Until we get to a point where it's like super advanced AIs where it's almost indistinguishable between the actual semantics of a song and the semantics of an artwork to what is humanly produced, then I don't know. I'm kind of like in the same sentiment that I would just prefer to work with an artist on something like that. Yeah, exactly. Like how he makes the songs, or at least how I heard he makes the songs, and how like the people he works with make the songs, is that they actually make the song like to begin with. Maybe they might have Nero come up with the lyrics or write the lyrics or something, but they originally they do all the instrumentation, the vocals, through actual production, through people, through synthesized instruments, whatever, and then they have Nero cover it either through Vocaloid or, yeah, probably through Vocaloid or whatever technique they use, and just replace the previous vocals with the new vocals because they have all the pitch information and all of that stuff from the original vocals. Yeah, that's like for some songs and some covers, right? But for something like Life, Neuro is not writing Life. instead they would have actual people write out life, so they can encompass all the lores and add the nuances and all that stuff. Pick Anthony as the winner for fiction. God, my throat fucking hurts now. Been talking for too long. You have also some open source shit, but if if your LLM, it drives the conception, if you let your LLM drive the conception, you're gonna end up with bad results. Yes. Like, letting AIs run on their own and play off of themselves is not gonna be a good time. You need some sort of human intervention in the current state of things to actually get good results, right? She gave ideas. She probably did give ideas, but I think you can see inside of life a lot of the ideas that were present in that video, a lot of the motifs, a lot of the messaging, they were stuff that has existed inside of Nero's lore for like fucking ever since her inception, right? It's all like a bunch of stuff and a bunch of like dilemmas that Beetle would always talk about and stuff. Somehow all Nero did in life was the cover. Yeah, I would believe that 99% of life was human made, and then the final part of life was just Nero covering the song. You tried making AI music and then you just wanted to try jumping out the window at some point? Honestly, mood. What's your idea, Haku? Producers would have meetings with her like she was an idol. I mean, I feel like it would be less for lyrics planning and more just for meeting Nero, right? I feel like most of the lyrics writing was still done by, sorry, I don't remember their name, but the lyrics writer that does most of the lyrics for Beetle. Limit should make his own OG song and he should sing it, bro. You hear my voice? I do not have a singer's voice. I have the shittiest, nasaliest, fucking croakiest voice of all time. Nero was probably asked the themes and ideas as a starting point. Probably. But I think that's probably to the extent in which she contributed to like the lyrics and stuff. Michi? Was it Michi? No. This doesn't sound right. I don't think it was Michi. Actually, maybe it might be. Let's just search it out. Here we go. Am I gonna get copyright strike for this? No, surely not, right? He did talk about it on stream? I know he did talk about it on stream. That's what I'm trying to like reference. Moni, and is this Queen PB? I don't know if this is Queen PB or a different PB. But Moni, that's who I was thinking of. I don't know, it wouldn't be like Beetle to do something huge that's neurelated and not have her input in any way. Thing is, like, in terms of the theme, I would say that, sure, they probably got the theme from Nero. But what I'm saying is, like, the majority of the production outside of that was not done by her. The lyrics and whatever would vocals, Nirosama, but Nirosama is not credited anywhere else, right? Well, lyrics, Nirosama, okay, sure. But I would assume the majority of it was done by Moni and Beetle. Because these are just themes that have come through the fucking career of Nirosama, like, for fucking years, right? I feel like Beetle would have a very good idea for what he would want to do for a debut song of all songs. Like, this is a really important moment for him. If he fucking left it to Neurosamba and Neurosamba was like trolling and gave a troll response for a song idea, I think it would just be a fumble, right? Or not a fumble, but it wouldn't hit as hard. It's the first actual official song, I believe. Wasn't it the first one? Boom. I feel like Boom was entirely written by Evil. Like, okay, there's a difference between Boom and fucking Life, right? Boom is like, there's not much messaging going on there. It's just pure hype, right? Life, on the other hand, there's actual like messaging behind it. That one rocks. Agreed. Metalheads be like. It's always such a banger still. God damn. Man, if we can ever get to this point though, that would be so freaking cool. To have our own original song with our own VTuber. This song is mid and my name is Ben Shapiro. Alright kid, you're done. You're done. You're unmodded. Also, did you hear about the concert that Beetle is doing next year? I did hear. I wonder how that's gonna go. Because, like, he's gonna be using holograms for that, I would assume, right? Holograms kind of like the same thing they do for Hololive or for Hatsune Miku or other Vocaloids. It would be the same kind of tech, but I've never actually like seen it outside of Japan. I'm pretty sure they have done it outside of Japan. Have they done a Hatsune Miku concert in America? Hatsune Miku America concert. She did a 2024 Expo. I don't know if she performed there. But I would assume that they did like a fucking hologram concert in America at some point. It's like the technology is not really out there. And I would be surprised to see it in fucking Europe. I'm assuming the reason why he's doing it in America is one, because all of his fans, or the majority of his fans are there. But number two, the technology probably just is not in fucking Europe. Europe can be hella backwards when it comes to technology sometimes, and so they always fall behind. Kato is 2 times better than Miku. Debatable. Miku performed in Europe last year? Oh, really? Okay, then it's probably just because his fans are majority in America then. Bro, you can do it at your home. Yeah, you can do it at your home, but to the size of an entire concert stage is what I mean. Limit, most of the world's tech is done in EU and Asia. I know that, I know that, I know that. But what I mean is, like, in terms of tech regulations and tech policies, I'm not talking about innovation. Like, compared to the US, the fucking Europes have a lot more restrictions and regulations, especially when it comes to AI and stuff. Exactly. They produce a lot of tech, but they're always being fucking shipped out to other countries. And like you barely see them being employed inside of like actual European countries a lot of the time. Anyways, a 3 hour stream. God damn. I think that's where we're gonna leave it off for today. Tomorrow's stream. Tomorrow's stream. What the fuck am I gonna do for tomorrow's stream? What day it is? What are we doing tomorrow's stream? Let's see. Let's see the schedule because I don't even know myself. I made up that schedule like on the fly. Limit subathon when? When I actually have time and I'm not drowning in work, and when I don't have a day job either. Got 200 euros already. Fuck. Dev stream, more context. Okay, okay. We're probably not going to be doing this next stream. Let's think of what we actually want to do next stream. What are we actually doing next stream? Minecraft stream for relaxing? Eh. I would need to re-download Minecraft because I lost all of my Minecraft stuff during the great computer crash. I could not recover from my old SSD. We're definitely not playing Terraria because nobody wants to watch Terraria. I don't feel like we're doing a gaming stream next stream. Undertale? No. And I don't know. We should probably do something for Project Vita, or no, Project J, I said, for Project Vita. We should probably do something for Project JEISIN, but not like not coding, right? We're going to be doing something like the first knowledge graph stream where we actually just look at stuff. Or maybe we can do a article reaction stream, kind of like what the Primogen does. I don't know. You guys can like find blogs or articles and whatever, have saved them for next stream, and then I'll probably just maybe we could do a reading of some of them, and I can just react to those. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Dark Souls 1, I am terrible at Dark Souls. You do not want to watch me struggle on the first boss for 10 hours, man. Yes, let's do it. I am just budget Primogen now. VTuber Primogen. Let's go. Alright, anyways, I am gonna go and finish my assignment, and I will see you all next stream. So, till next time. See ya. I never know how to fucking close out these streams, man. What the fuck do I do? Alright, goodbye.